All right, welcome to part two of my review of Metroid Prime 4. Please go check out the first part if you haven't already. There will be spoilers in this one because I'm going to talk about the ending, so just be warned. Okay, so I left off talking about the frustration with the NPCs bugging the crap out of you without stopping, and begging for Nintendo and Retro to add an option for us to shut them up. Leave it on by default for the newbies or whatever you want, but let us turn it off. Please, 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 please. There's that. Now I'm going to talk about the ending. I'm rather mixed on the ending. There were things about it that were great, and things about it that made me frustrated, and something about it that absolutely made me livid. So let's get into it. It was a fine ending. It was weird that it took that long to actually see Psylocke. Like, for real. You have two fake-out fights in the game that they're just Cybots, oddly manipulated. And it's like, okay, why? I have more attachment to Dark Samus than I do Psylocke. And I'm just a little bit frustrated that he finally shows up and we barely see him. The other part that frustrated me is how the entire first half of the fight against him is me doing basically all the work myself despite being surrounded by teammates with guns. And I'm not only having to do all the work myself, it feels like, but I'm also having to save their asses when they get hurt too much. I have to heal them while trying to not get creamed. Then, what really bugs me is how these characters, several of whom already had like a fake out death in the mines, then they actually sacrifice themselves, and it's like I just feel like I'm getting jerked around at this point. It's hard to feel like it's really believable when it all just feels very like simple choice decision making above this without much like development of these basic decisions. Yep, they're just all gonna die at the end. Just throw that in there. I don't know. Maybe they're not dead, but like it's just unclear. The other thing I really was frustrated about with the ending was with Psylocke, we got a hint of story. And it was actually some of my favorite stuff with those crazy flashbacks that she'd be like freaking out with the psychic crystal in her head, like, oh, what's going on? And then seeing the moment when apparently Psylocke became her bitter enemy. And they barely touched it. They talk about it a tiny bit in his description, just saying he's went out for revenge. And that's when I realized, oh, that's what happened in that cutscene. That was Psylocke, apparently. Their subtlety is, it's just, all it's serving to do right now after all this time of waiting for this freaking game to just annoy even further. We waited almost 2 decades for this game, and we got like the sippiest of sips of this incredible drink. Come on, guys. I am so sick of Nintendo insisting that their games are not for storytelling. Screw that! Will someone slap Miyamoto out of this? Storytelling is one of the greatest things gaming can do! Come on already! That's not even the worst part. You wanna know what the worst part was for me? The worst part was the fact that for some weird reason, I had all of the scout bots to tell me where all the item pickups were, and I grabbed them all. There was nothing left, and yet I still only had 98%, and I'm like, that's weird. Maybe there's a couple of things in the final tower, and they're past the point of no return. That seems like a dumb choice, but whatever. And then that didn't happen. And then after you beat the game, and it rolls credits, it says, would you like to save over your file and do it as a game complete? Warning, if you start a new game from this save file, if you mark it game complete, you'll have to get your scans and items all over again. So I'm like, oh, okay, so as long as I don't start a new game from that file, it's fine. I can still mark it complete. Guess what? Now, I can't just go in and try to find that one room in the volcano that I didn't, like, open the door, and apparently there was stuff behind there. I don't know where else those items could have been. I still haven't figured that out. And now I'm never going to be able to, because I did say yes, go ahead, save it as game complete. And then it won't let me go back to my save. It only lets me go back to the autosave past the point of no return. When I tell you I was outraged, it's an understatement. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe they miscommunicated that that badly, where I had to go off of vibes. There was a part of me going, wait a minute, are they saying that if I save over it, I'm not going to be able to go back to my save? They're not saying that. They're just saying if I start a new game from that. Okay, that sounds like a choice I'll have. Retro, please fix the phrasing. Of course I'm going to play the game again, just not right now. I'm way too mad. Way too mad. That was infuriating. But I will someday. I'm going to play hard mode. I want to finish getting the unlocks, and I want to get 100% on everything. And I'd like to beat the game quickly to see if there's a secret ending, because there usually is. But right now I'm just so angry. I'm frustrated by the ending. I'm frustrated by how they handled all the characters and the stylic story, and how frustrating the first half of the final fight was, how annoying the constant nagging of the characters became. Like, I was so happy. I was so happy playing this game. There was so many times over the past few days that I was just like, I am a happy man. This is, like, I want to remember this feeling of, like, waiting and waiting and waiting and then being, like, so generously rewarded. And then by the end of it, I was just so angry I couldn't deal with it. Does that mean I have some issues to work out? Yeah, probably. I'm still on my healing journey. I'm still integrating my shadow and going back and all that kind of stuff. I'm still in that process personally. And I know that I still have some anger with gaming I've got to work through. That's fine. This, however, was ridiculous and inexcusable. So, again, Retro, please fix that. Please. Either make it so that even though you've marked it complete, you can still go back to the save before the point of no return. Or make it extremely clear, if you mark your save as game complete, you will never be able to go back to your old save file. You will have to start a new game. Say that. Please, for the dum-dums like me. So how would I rate this game overall? 90 to 95. Easy. If these problems get fixed. If these problems get fixed. If they don't get fixed, I cannot blame the people for marking this as low as a 75. I'm really irritated. There's no excuse for some of this crap. There's really none. Yeah, the game has been in development hell for so long, and probably a lot of these ideas were old, and they just kind of had to stick with them for a while. This is one of the curses of a long development cycle. But I don't know, man. I see most of these problems as very easily solvable. Add some more stuff to the desert to make it a little bit more interesting, and give us the option to shut up the reminders from the NPCs, to have them not bother us ever after the first time they tell us something. Never again. Never again. And clean up that last bit of text in the after the credits. I really don't know what else to say about the story. I just wish they were giving us more with the story. I feel like we still didn't get enough actual development with these characters. We got hints. But this also isn't the series that you go to for that kind of character development. So it also just feels weird and out of place. And like, they almost got a good balance. I liked Topaki. I liked the very Native American feeling kind of stuff I would get from him, and talking about him and the stories he had and his calm demeanor and everything, his comfort with the land. There was a lot to like about that. I liked Duke, and I liked how he was reliable, and he was interesting and funny, and he kept telling Nora to leave Samus alone and not be annoying, and he had a family that he cared about. And Nora was just adorable. Nora reminded me of my daughter, who has loved Samus her whole life. She was such a huge fan as a little girl. My ex-wife made her an amazing costume when she was like 4 or 5. This incredible Various suit out of foam and cardboard. It was, and tape. It was really, really good. And it was just the coolest thing. And Nora geeking out over Samus was like so real. I felt seen in those moments where it's like, oh, she's so cool. So many times in this game, it's like, Samus is the most badass ever. Look at her. She's so awesome. And to see her actually get upset when she thought Nora was gone in the mines was actually touching. But anyway, there's my lengthy review. Let me know what you guys thought in either of these videos. Feel free to disagree with me, be insulted by the fact that I called Metroid fans antisocial. Then again, prove me wrong.